right, now we got Armani Robinson.
Armani Robinson.
Okay. Mr. Gregory, are you handling this one?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you need an opportunity to speak with him, or are we good?
We have, Your Honor. Yes, well.
Okay. Miss Tina Ripley, are you ready?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Calling case number 230-585-7501. People City, Michigan versus Armani Dewan Robinson. Appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
Mr. Gregory?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Austin Gregory, PA5193, on behalf of Mr. Robinson, who's been made over his constitutional rights away from where he stands.
All right. Formal reading have been waived. The court will enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. Ms. Ripley, argument as the bond?
Yes, Judge, thank you. The allegations in this case are arising from an unsafe storage of a weapon. The defendant placed his handgun in a backpack, and he placed that backpack in an area that was accessible to children. It was a fully loaded handgun, and he placed it in a backpack that used to belong to his 7-year-old little brother. And Your Honor, while he is charged with involuntary manslaughter, well, that homicide charge is the result of grossly negligent actions by the defendant in leaving his handgun in an area accessible to the children. His actions afterward are what show his criminal mindset, and that's reflected in the tampering charge. That's based on the defendant's intentional actions in taking the firearm in the backpack and hiding it in his car that was in his driveway, and then even more egregiously, going back into the house, searching for and finding the casing, taking it and hiding it on a dilapidated wood wall of his next door neighbor's garage. This shows intentional actions and intentional thought. Your Honor, this gun was unsecured, fully loaded. He had no gun lock for it, in a backpack that used to be his little brother's, who was in the house at the time. He bought the gun off the street about a month ago, and it was an illegal gun. Your Honor, based on these charges, we're asking for $250,000 cash surety with the tether, no weapons, and no access to children, and any other conditions as the court sees fit.
Ms. Ripley, one follow-up question. When you say illegal gun, you mean it was reported stolen?
Yes, I do believe it was reported stolen, Judge.
Okay. And you said $250,000 cash, and what else you requesting?
$250,000 cash surety, no 10%, a GPS tether, no weapons, and no contact with children, and any other terms and conditions as the court sees fit.
How old is a child to you? 17 or what? In terms of how do you define a minor? Below under 17?
Yeah, everyone under 18. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gregory.
Your Honor, Mr. Robinson has ties to the community as a local address. He lives with his fiance. He has he's a lifelong Detroit resident, 26 years old, and he is employed. Notably, in this case, Your Honor, while these allegations are very serious, it is not. The facts are not that he was assaulted in any way toward the person.
That's correct. It's basically an allegation of extreme negligence.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yes.
He has not demonstrated that he does not have a case history. He does not have any other cases. He's not on parole. We're asking for a perfect bond in this case with a tether and a work release. We do understand that this is a serious allegation, but when we're looking at the court's requirements for a bond, which are is he a danger to society, and is he a flight risk? He's not demonstrated that he is assaultive to the public or a danger to society, and he has local ties. So we are asking for a personal bond.
Okay, one moment. All right, the court having an argument from both counsels. And Mr. Gregory does bring up an excellent point in terms of this is not an intentional act. And that's true. He's not charged with an intentional act per se, but one with extreme, and one would argue gross negligence of a handgun allegedly reported stolen. And with such disregard for the well-being of the children in the house, resulted in the accidental shooting and death of a 7-year-old due to allegedly Mr. Robinson's gross neglect with respect to the handgun. So in light of that, notwithstanding his ties to the community, the court finds Mr. Robinson a danger to the community, and in light of that will adopt in large part the recommendation from the people and impose a $250,000 cash surety bond, no 10%, with the following conditions. While this case is pending, Mr. Robinson is not to possess, purchase, obtain, use handgun, pistol, firearm, or other dangerous weapon. If he's able to post bond, he'll be fitted with a GPS tether and have no contact with children under the age of 18. Mr. Gregory, is this an affordable bond for your client? Okay. In light of that, Mr. Robinson, you have the following 3 court dates. You have a bond redetermination hearing this Friday, August 25th, in front of Judge McConico. You have a probable cause conference September 6th in front of Judge King, and a preliminary examination September 13th at 1:45 p.m. in front of Judge King. Does anyone have any questions regarding the bond conditions and/or court dates?
No, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, any questions? I take it not. Okay, step aside, please. Yes, Mr. Robinson, you have a question regarding your court dates and/or bond conditions?
Bond conditions.
What's your question, sir?
Your Honor, I just wanted to ask, could I please go to my son's funeral and be there for my fiance? Just this one time, I will turn myself back in, I promise, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Robinson, I will let Judge McConico deal with that Friday, okay? But as of now, no. Okay, thank you. You can step aside.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All set. Calling docket number 230-58575, the people of the state of Michigan versus Armani Robinson is here on 3 counts. Count 1, homicide, manslaughter, involuntary. Count 2, child abuse, 2nd degree. Count 3, tampering with evidence, criminal case punished by more than 10 years. This matter is scheduled for a probable cause hearing.
Appearances for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
Good morning, Your Honor. Neighborhood Defender Service of Detroit by Natalie Phelps, P83355, appearing on behalf of Mr. Robinson, who's also present via Zoom. Mr. Robinson, can you please state your name for the record?
Armani Robinson.
Thank you.
What's your pleasure, Ms. Phelps?
Judge, I did receive some discovery in this case. I just, if Ms. Ripley could confirm that the kids talk was included in that digital discovery, or if we still need to deal with the issue with that. I just haven't, they're not labeled, so.
Yes, no, that's fair. So no, the kids talk was not included at this time. Kids talks can only be turned over pursuant to a protective order. I know defense had some issues with the protective order that we sent over. And so I'm asking the court to sign the protective order for the kids talks so that I can send them over. Outside of that, I believe everything has been sent over except for one very large video that I am trying to upload.
Okay. And Judge, the issue that I had with the protective order, it was a pretty short protective order, but it referred to another protective order inside of it, which I guess I was just confused by that clause. If there's not like an additional protective order that it was referring to, then I guess I don't have any issue with that. But then it also referred to that I would have to destroy any digital files. And I just was following up with the prosecutor to let her know for that clause, you know, we have our own rules of professional conduct that I'd have to maintain those files for 7 years. So that was the only reason why I didn't sign that protective order, really. So I don't know how we want to proceed on that.
And Judge, the clause that she's about the protective order, that's this actual protective order, so it's just the same one. This is just pursuant to the statute, Judge. The statute is what governs the kids' talks, the video recorded statements. And so they don't allow anyone to retain copies. If and when there was.
Ms. Phelps, the statute preempts your own internal policies.
Judge, they're not our internal policies. They're the state bar that requires us to maintain files for 7 years after a case is closed. But if the statute is preempting that rule of professional conduct, then I guess I don't have any issue with the protective order.
Okay.
And it just wasn't clear that this was like just about the kids talks videos, but now that we've, you know, had an opportunity to communicate about it, that I don't have any issue with that.
Okay.
Yes, it's just regarding the kids talks. Yeah.
All right, so let's get that done. We'll continue to plead not guilty and set this matter for preliminary examination. House September 19th at 10 o'clock.
September 19th, 7 o'clock.
You said 10 o'clock, Judge?
Yes.
I think that should work for me.
That should be good for me. I should be done with trial by then. So, but yeah, by 10 o'clock on the 19th.
September 19th at 10 o'clock, bond will be continued. Well,
Great,
what is the
Judge, he's posted a bond already on this. Let me refresh my memory.
Yeah, it was reduced at the bond redetermination hearing, Judge.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, if you have a question about something, you should probably ask me, okay,
okay.
Is it about the date of the 19th? Do you have an issue with that date?
No, it's about me going back to work.
Because of your tether condition, so you can't go to work?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, can we amend the tether conditions so that he's allowed to work?
Quite frankly, if I was doing the bond redetermination without knowing anything about this case and based solely on the charges, Mr. Robinson probably would have to be out and would have to worry about work anyway. Particularly those charges that are disturbing to the court, even aside from the alleged homicide, but tampering with evidence.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right, so let me just hear what's going on in this case first, and then we'll address bond again if need be at the preliminary examination. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Okay, Mr. Robinson, I'll give you a call later today when I'm done with court, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You can sign off.
Calling case number 2305-857-501 for the state of Michigan versus Armani Robinson. Defendant is charged in count 1, homicide, manslaughter, and voluntary. Count 2, child abuse, second degree. Count 3, tampering with evidence, criminal case punishable by more than 10 years.
Parents, for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, 3688.
Good morning, Your Honor. Neighborhood Defendant Service in Detroit by Natalie Phelps, 83355, appearing on behalf of Mr. Armani Robinson, who's also present in the courtroom. Mr. Robinson, can you please state your name for the record?
Can't hear you, sir.
Armani Robinson.
There's date, time set for preliminary examination. I'm ready to proceed.
Yes, Judge.
How many witnesses for the people?
3, Judge.
Have any preliminary matters you'd like to begin with before you call the witness?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
People would move to admit people supposed to read it 1 pursuant to MCL 766.11B. It's the post-mortem report from the medical examiner's office.
Any objection?
Judge, I just object,
Vote please. Admit.
Thank you, Judge. And may I briefly summarize?
Yes.
Thank you. This is any case number 23-10274, the postmortem examination on Sean Tez, SHAWNTAZE, Cameron Moore, MOORE, performed on August 21st, 2023 by Dr. Leigh Labaty, that's LEIGH
Please.
Leigh, sorry. Assistant medical examiner from the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. It is her opinion that death was caused by gunshot wound to the head. There was loose contact entrance gunshot wound on the left forehead, with lacerations radiating from this wound and a small amount of soot present on the wound edges and underlying bone. Perisordium, PERIOSTEUM. The wound track proceeded from this injury through the left frontal bone, brain, and right occipital bone, and ended at an exit wound on the right occipital scalp. Additional injuries included bruising of the left frontal scalp, multiple skull fractures, subarachnoid hemorrhage, and bruising on the brain. The wound track was from front to back, left to right, slightly downward. The body is viewed in the standard anatomical position. There was no bullet or part of bullet recovered from the wound track. Investigation revealed that the decedent was alone with another child in the room with the weapon. Others in the house heard a gunshot and found the decedent shot. Investigation could not / has not determined who pulled the trigger of the weapon. Thus, the manner of death is indeterminate.
Yes.
No, that's
And Your Honor, the only preliminary legal, yes, to move to sequester the executive officer charge.
Any objection to apply to your name?
Yes, Judge, I would object to the officer in charge. He is going to testify today, and I believe he testify.
Will you testify to that?
He will be testifying second. The only other person for it is a 911 call operator.
Let's call my.
And then Judge, I believe you have a stipulation to the identification of Sean Tez Moore.
That's stipulated for
Yes.
exam purposes.
Yes, Judge.
Or receive that stipulation.
Mr. Jeffrey, you just have to get back. I thought I would call it first, so I'm just gonna have officer step out in the hallway and introduce yourself. At this time, people call Sean T. Jeffers.
That's your officer in charge.
She's the keeper of records for the
Well, she's calling the OIC first.
I think she changed that.
I was judged, but Ms. Jeffers, she's very busy going, she has to get back to work. I told her I'd call her first. She should be fairly free.
Please step forward, give your name and spelling to the court. Just have it. Oh, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please have a seat with this box right next to me. Voice up nice and loud. Speak to that microphone, will be to your left, okay?
Yes, sir.
Maybe when you're ready.
Actually, well, Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Chauncey Jeffries,
And how are you employed?
911 operator in People Breakfast.
How long have you been employed with Central?
I've been a 911 operator for 23 years and in the People Breakfast for 18.
And what does it entail to be the keeper of records?
I put all the 911 recordings for people that are requesting for the tapes, for their cases.
And did you get a chance to extract a 911 call from the date of August 19th of 2023?
Yes,
And do you recall the location of that 911 call?
but not off the top of my head.
Did you get a chance to review the 911 call that you pulled for this case?
Yes,
How many 911 calls did you pull for this case?
fine.
911 call that you pulled for this case, you said you had a chance to listen to?
Yes,
And was that a fair and accurate depiction of the 911 call that you pulled for this case?
yes.
May I move to publish, or move to make it supposed to get two as a 911 call that started for this case?
Judge, I'm gonna object to your side.
Judge, the 911 call in this case is non-testimonial in nature. Its primary purpose was made for assisting the emergency.
Judge, the content of the 911 call, I'm objecting to is hearsay, Judge. There's an exception, because it's an out-of-court statement made by some other parent who's not. Was offered for the truth of matters.
Judge, 911 calls, they are this one is non-testimonial in nature, and that's under Davis v. Washington, and Indiana. They're non-testimonial, they're made in the course of police interrogation under circumstances objectively indicated, but the primary purpose of the interrogation is to enable police assistance with the ongoing emergency. So there are exceptions to this.
And Judge, I would argue that it is testimonial. Half of the call definitely is testimonial in nature. The emergency is over for that part of it. I understand that the confrontation clause does not apply to preliminary exam, though. My objection is that it is hearsay, and so I'm asking for if there's an exception to the hearsay. Can I just ask for the record what exception?
I rule that it's not hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
It's not hearsay. Not hearsay.
If it were, I believe it would also fall under present suppression. The people on the 911 call are proceeding with the events as they are occurring. The police had not yet even arrived when the phone call ended. They are actively within the scene. May I share my screen?
Yeah.
Saturday, August 19, 2023, 22, 28 and 28 seconds.
Detroit 911, what's the address to your emergency? Okay. The child that's not breathing, or there's something wrong with the child. I don't know if the neighbor. Okay, are you with the child now? Yes, I think his mother is. Okay, I need you to go near the child so we can save him until police get there, okay? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Did you ask me something? I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line and I'll tell you exactly what to do next. Can you go near the child so we can help the child? Yes, they're sending a paramedic now. Okay, I need you to help the child. We can do CPR on the child and help the child until EMS arrives. Are you able to do this, ma'am? Can you do CPR? They said to do CPR until the paramedics arrive. I'm gonna give instructions. Okay. Sorry. I need to know how old the child is. How old is he? He's 8. Okay. Are you right by him now? I'm sorry, he's 8. Yes. Are you right by him now? Yes, I have a neighbor who knows how to do CPR. Okay. Is the neighbor doing CPR?
Is he? She do CPR. He's breathing.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing.
Okay, I need you guys to place your hand on his forehead, your other hand under his neck, and tilt his head back.
It says she has her hand on his neck, and she said to put your hand on his forehead to lean his head back. I think they just wanna.
Can I speak to the neighbor that know how to do CPR?
Yes. Hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Hello?
is the child breathing? Hi, is that child breathing?
Yeah, he's breathing. They got a pulse.
Okay, great. Can you place your hand on the child's forehead, your other hand under the neck, and tilt the head back?
Yeah, the mom's got to put the back now.
The mom's not putting the baby down?
They pick him up. They put him in the car and take him down.
Yeah, let them know we have EMS driving, but we need to help the baby until EMS get there.
Yeah, we can help the EMS is on the way. Yeah, they put him in the car and bring him to the hospital.
Okay, tell them EMS is very close.
EMS is very close, guys.
They're still putting the child in the car?
EMS is very close.
They're transporting the child on their own?
Yeah, they're transporting the child, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what kind of car they're in?
They're in a PG Cruiser.
What color?
It's going to be, it's gray.
Great.
They're westbound on Midland going towards Schaefer. I think they're coming to Sinai.
Westbound. Do you know what happened to the child?
The child is, I'm going to run to the corner just a second. I won't walk fast to the corner. They just went down Midland. I hear EMS.
Yeah, that's how I was saying. They were really close, and we could have helped the child.
It would have been better. It would have been better, I think.
Yeah. Do we know?
The dad's not going. The dad has a weapon. I see him carry a weapon, all kinds of extended magazines. I'm sure the boy got shot with that gun. The
child was shot?
Police. He wants a police call there, I think.
Okay, so the child was shot, is that correct?
Yeah, the child was shot in the head.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Cause
All right, and the address is 15725 where the incident happened.
Okay. Is the father in the car too?
No, the father went back in the house. I ain't never seen no shit like that in my life.
Okay. No.
I had to drive a shower.
You can remain anonymous, sir, but do you know the father's name?
I don't know his name. They just moved in about a month ago.
Okay. Is the father a black male, white male, or Hispanic male?
He's a black male. He's a black male, about 155 pounds, real slim build. He's at the house. I live directly across the street from him.
Huh?
I live directly across the street from them. He went back in the house at 15725. It's a white Lincoln or...
A white Lincoln?
Oh. He hasn't left. I'll let you know.
Oh, you say he hasn't left?
No, he hasn't left. He's still here.
Oh.
And then he sent her, a neighbor took the mother and the child to the hospital.
So the father is in the home?
Yeah, he's in the house right now.
And you say he's a black...
He's running out with a flashlight. He's with the flashlight looking in the car.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell he's doing. Looking for the keys.
Okay. And you said that the father was a black male?
Black male, yes, ma'am.
What kind of... And he's looking in what kind of vehicle?
It's a white car. I'm going to walk back down by it, too. I'll let you know 1 second. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's the kids.
I really do appreciate you. We have a lot of help on the way.
Yeah, they just left the scene. They're going west on Pilgrim towards Schaefer. Huh?
The father?
No, the EMS just rolled by.
Yeah, so they're not coming because they didn't know that at first.
Okay. It's a Lincoln, and
I'm giving you his place number.
What color Lincoln?
White.
Okay.
But Lincoln Zephyr. It's Edward Sam Young, 3033.
3033. Is he still outside?
He's with a flashlight running through the house.
Okay.
So I don't know
What's-
what color it is.
Okay, sir, I really, really do appreciate you so much.
No
I'm going to
problem.
get police
No problem
out
at all.
there. They're actually en route. They'll be there as soon as
No,
possible.
25. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Bye.
Cross-examine.
Officer Jeffries, is that right? Or just Ms. Jeffries?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so you indicated that you pulled this recording for this case, is that right?
Yes.
And when you pull the recordings, does it record what number the call came from?
Yes.
Okay. And does it show you a name associated with the call or anything like that?
If it's a landline, yes, but a cell phone, don't have a name, so operator will have a name.
So when you were asked to pull the 911 call for this case, how did you do that?
Provided the information to give to me by whoever requested, then maybe the address and then the report number. And then I just search into our CAD computer, which is computed as non operator, and put the information in the request units. So I'll search into the net system and find the call.
So when you were asked to pull the 911 call for this case, how did you do that?
Provided the information to give to me by whoever requested, then maybe the address and then the report number. And then I just search into our CAD computer, which is computed as non.
And when you said the case number, is that the police case number, or do you keep a separate case number for this, or?
No, if they provide a report number, I use the report number, a lot of times they give me the address and then I'll look. The address or the street.
Okay, and just to be clear, that you're not the operator on this call, right?
No, ma'am.
I don't have any more questions.
Can you redirect?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
We'll call Officer in Charge, Officer Isaac Lamas.
Yes. Okay, great. Morning, sir. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. Put the spots next to me. Voice up nice and loud, speaking to the microphone and to your left. When you're ready.
Thank you. Why don't you please state your name for the record,
Isaac Holmes,
and where are you employed?
City of Detroit, Detroit Police Department.
Judge, I'm having a hard time.
Is it turned on?
Right? I don't
Is the
think,
red light on? Great.
could you say how you're employed again? Sorry. How are you employed?
With the Detroit Police Department,
And are you assigned to a special unit or anything like that?
homicide,
And how long have you been police officer for the city of Detroit?
a little over 6 years now.
And has that always been in homicide, or has you started somewhere else?
Before homicide, I worked ceasefire at 6%.
What is your role in the case of Mitchell versus Armani Robinson?
I'm assigned the officer in charge.
And what does that mean to be the officer in charge?
As the officer in charge, you spearhead the investigation of whatever case that it is. You help direct your assisting team members and you ensure that the investigation is complete.
And so what kind of duties did you perform on this case?
I initially made the hospital where the victim was. After that, I went to the location of the incident briefly, and then I went back to our office to interview Mr. Robinson.
And so the location of the incident, are you familiar with the address that you went to?
Yes,
And do you remember what that address was? So that's the city of Detroit.
yes.
And do you recall what day that you made that address?
I don't have a specific date, but you know,
Looking at your investigator's report, refresh your recollection.
yes.
Yeah, Coach Church.
Ma'am?
Any of the investigator's report, you just go through that, let me know, like, your, memory has been refreshed as to the date that you went to the ward address.
Would have been early morning of August 20th, for the incident that occurred late evening, August 19th.
And when you went there, tell me what you see.
It was a single family home. When you entered through the main door, you had your kitchen on the left side, and then a family living room area on the right side of you with the fireplace in it.
And is that as far as you went into the house that night?
Yes,
And your Honor, may I-
You may.
He was the mark of units 3, 4. Can you tell me what it is that you stand
Exhibit 3 is going to be the exterior wall leading the main door. The inside, I'm sorry, it's the interior side of the exterior wall. And then exhibit 4 is going to be the living room that is a fireplace and that.
And would it be fair to say that those are photos of inside the house at 15725 Ward?
Yes,
And are those a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw that night inside that house?
yes.
I move for the admission of the proposed exhibits 3 and 4.
Any objection? Admitted?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
What did you see in the living room that night or that morning?
There was a pooling of blood with small amounts of tissue on the ground next to the carpeting, as well as blood spatter on the wall and the mantel.
Did you do anything else at the house that morning?
I did not.
And you said afterwards you went somewhere, where did you go?
Detroit Public Safety Headquarters,
And what was your purpose for going there?
interview of Armani Robinson.
And did you complete an interview with Armani Robinson?
I did,
And did you see the person that you interviewed in the courtroom today?
yes.
And could you point to them or identify them by an item of clothing?
Mr. Robinson's wearing a white button shirt.
And, with record of what the witness that you affect the defendant in this case, Judge?
So noted.
Thank you. And did you do this interview with, alone or with a partner?
I interviewed alongside Sergeant.
Do you recall about how long this interview was?
I would say maybe hour and a half, or somewhere between 90 minutes or so.
Was this recorded in any way?
It was.
And how was it recorded?
Our interview rooms have automatic audio and video recording.
When you spoke to Mr. Robinson, did you advise him of his rights?
Certainly, we did.
And you were present when this happened?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object.
Your Honor, he's present in the room, not testifying. Something he didn't see on his own.
Testifying.
Did you, was something used in assisting with advising, Mr. Robinson of his rights?
It would be a constitutional rights form.
And do you remember, did Mr. Robinson read that out loud, or was it read to him or something?
One more time, please.
Was that rights form read to Mr. Robinson? Did Mr. Robinson read it himself or something else?
Was read to him and then handed to him to initial review.
Did Mr. Robinson take his highest level of education?
Yeah,
And what was it?
I do not recall, but it would be on the floor.
And your man, coach,
Yes.
any of you, advice or recommendation to refresh your recollection? Is that refresh your memory as to Mr. Robinson's highest level of education?
It does.
And what was his highest level of education?
Completed a GED 2017.
About how many interviews have you conducted as a police officer?
Countless,
More than 100?
significantly more, yes.
Would it be fair to say that you've seen and observed people that would be under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
Yes,
Did Mr. Robinson, in your training and experience, appear to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
no,
And did Mr. Robinson do anything to acknowledge that he understood his rights?
yes.
And what did he do?
Initial, again, I'm sorry, initialed next to each item.
Did he also sign the entire form?
He did.
And he was marked as 5.
People's Exhibit 5 is the constitutional rights form for Armani Robinson that has his initials affixed to numbers 1 through 5, as well as his signature date and time.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the constitutional rights for the executed in this case for the interview that Sergeant Reed did?
It is.
And I believe the admission of the Proposed Exhibit 5.
You did it?
And pass this to voluntary.
Where there's the commentary?
Is it, Officer Lamas, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The officer, sergeant, something else?
Officer.
So you indicated that you conducted this interview at DPD headquarters, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and this was done, so the incident in this case, it occurred around 10:30 at night, is that right?
Roughly.
And this interview took place around 2:30 the next morning, is that right?
Correct.
And Mr. Robinson was in custody at the time, right?
I believe he was just detained at the time.
He was in complete DPD custody, correct?
Correct.
Okay, he's been handcuffed, you've been taken to the station, is that right?
Correct.
And when you first encountered him in the interview room, he didn't have a shirt on, correct?
I do not recall.
Do you, he'd been at the station for several hours at that point, is that right?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay, how many hours have you been at the station?
I don't recall.
So, so you indicated that you went to the scene, is that correct?
Correct.
And what time was that at?
I don't remember the exact time, as I mentioned, I'm in the hospital first.
Right. So, what time did you get back to the station?
I don't remember the exact time.
But you're aware that Mr. Robinson was taken from the scene to DPD headquarters, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so he'd been in custody during that time. And you indicated that you didn't remember, that he wasn't wearing a top when you first entered the room with him?
I don't recall what the exact time.
Did you have an opportunity to review this interview?
Yes.
And you don't recall that he did not have a shirt on to begin?
That's the answer.
Okay. Mr. Robinson indicated that he was cold, didn't he, before you began the interview?
Not that I remember mentioning. No.
Okay, did you give him anything to eat, anything to drink?
I don't recall.
Judge, I don't have any more questions, and I'm just gonna object to our.
Or it's finding that the statement was normally voluntary.
And the format of the statement was video and audio.
Correct.
And it shows screen reader. Can I direct the attention to the screen? 3 seconds, just to show the screen picture. This is a fair and accurate depiction of the video statement that was taken in this case.
Yes.
And I have proof of the image of the exhibit 6 video statement.
Yes.
No, Judge, just my previous objection.
You did it?
Thank you, Judge. The statement is quite lengthy. Defense counsel and I have spoken about this before. My request is that we admit it at a court to review the chambers. It's about a little over 2 hours long. It says 2:41, but there's some time yet that you read up to it. So I would ask that you review it in chambers. If you have other questions.
Go ahead. Rest of the question.
I'm sorry, can you say it again? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you the interview in camera.
Yes, Judge, I would make, I would make a best evidence objection to any, brief portion of this evening anyway, so yes, I agree.
I do want the whole video. I do want to do the whole video, so I don't really want to play parts. So I understand. Thank you. Sorry. Officer Lamas, as the officer in charge, is also your duty to review evidence in the case.
Yes.
Was the gun ever recovered in this case?
It was.
And do you know where from?
From the.
Judge, I'm gonna object to hearsay. I mean, no personal, I'm sorry, I'll object to personal.
I don't want to do that. They doesn't have personal.
Then I would ask for information.
Did you see a gun recovered in this case?
Personally, I did not see it.
Did you get a chance, after a gun was recovered, did you get a chance to look at the specs and identification of the gun?
Yes.
And did you run that gun in Wayne?
Yes.
And what came up when you ran the weapon in Wayne?
How are you?
Judge, I'll object to the answer.
Wayne is not it's not your side. Reviewing the investigator's report before your reflection as to what happened with me.
Yes, sir.
Any investigators? That will let me know when your memory is never fresh. And what came up on the gun and name?
That it had previously been stolen out of a railroad.
And was a shell casing ever recovered in this case?
No.
Question.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, Officer Lamas, I have two questions for you. If you don't understand any of my questions, we ask you to rephrase. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, otherwise I'm assuming you understood, okay? So you indicated that you've been with the Detroit Police Department for 6 years, is that right?
Correct.
And you indicated you were in the ceasefire unit before Homicide, is that right?
Correct.
How long have you been in Homicide?
Nearing 2 years now.
And did you work anywhere as a police officer before your time with the Detroit Police Department?
No.
So you indicated that you first went to the hospital when you were getting involved in this case, is that correct?
Correct.
And which hospital did you go to?
San Andreas.
And who did
No,
you?
I apologize, it was not San Andreas. It would be DRH.
Jerry. Did you speak to anybody while you were?
Meaning
Did you speak to any human while you were at the hospital?
workers or family.
Both. Yeah, so you spoke to both workers and family while you're in the hospital? Okay. Which workers did you talk to?
I don't remember that.
Were you wearing body worn camera when you went to the hospital?
I would not have been.
You indicated that you talked to family members while you were in the hospital?
Correct.
Okay, who did you speak to?
Alexis Reeves.
Anyone else?
No.
Did you memorialize your conversation with her next time?
Yes.
How did you do that?
That itself would have been recorded on my end as well as it would say.
So while you were at the hospital, you interviewed her on body cam.
Correct.
Where were you when you interviewed?
Would have been in one of our vehicles.
Did you do anything else while you were in the hospital?
No.
Did you talk to them?
No.
And then you said from there you went to the location where this.
Correct.
Was there a shot spotter report in this case?
I do not recall.
When you went to the scene, did you have your body on camera?
I did not.
And so you did not activate any body on camera or anything while you were on the scene?
Correct.
Okay. When you got there, were there other officers?
There were.
Which other officers were there?
From patrol, I do not recall.
Okay.
I would have to reflect on my report. From homicide, it would have been Sergeant Reed, Officer Shakur.
Officer, I'm sorry?
Officer Shakur.
Shakur. Can you spell that for me?
SHAKOOR.
And did you observe Officers Reed and Shakur doing any investigation?
I did not.
Did you take any photographs?
I did not.
And did you observe any other officers taking photographs?
No.
Did you do a search of them?
I did not.
Are you aware of whether a search was done?
That would have been before I arrived at Fort Wilson.
Did you ever request a search warrant for this case?
Multiple.
Okay, so when did you request a search warrant
Which search warrant?
of the home?
I do not recall.
Okay, so at some point you did request a search warrant of the home, correct?
I would have to reflect.
Okay, would you like to look at your officer's report?
Please.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Officer Lamas, is that the investigator's report that I handed you?
It is.
Okay, and you authored that report, correct?
Correct.
Is that the only report that you've authored in this case?
It is.
Officer Yamas, excuse me, Lamas, your memory has been refreshed on, you've had an opportunity to review your report?
Yes.
Okay. And did you submit for a search warrant of the home in this case?
No.
Would reviewing the search warrant, you to refresh your memory?
Yes. This is not for a home. This is for 2006 Lincoln Tucker.
Okay. So you did not apply for the search warrant for the home in this case, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you are the officer in charge, correct?
Correct.
And your part of your duties include reviewing evidence, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so when did the search of the home occur? If you know.
Again.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there a tablet recovered during that search?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm not too much, but we do have a sequestration.
Not sure what these, why it came because of the brother. He said he's not testifying, this is Alexis' mom.
No, they might testify. Okay, would reviewing the warrant return for this case refresh your recollection as to whether the tablet was recovered?
Yes.
May I approach Judge?
Ma'am. You have same position.
Okay. Just trying to get better. Has your memory been refreshed?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a tablet recovered in this case?
From the home, no.
Okay. Was there a cell phone recovered?
Yes.
Okay. How many cell phones were recovered?
The return shows 3.
Do you know, did you ever direct anybody to recover a tablet from the home? As an officer in charge, did you have an opportunity to talk to other witnesses involved in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything about any of those conversations that led you to search for a tablet? The cell phones that were recovered, were they extracted?
They were in the process of being extracted.
Okay, so you requested that they be extracted? Okay, and you still retain those cell phones, is that right? And that's 3 cell phones, is that right?
Correct.
When you arrived on the scene that night, were there any other witnesses, civilians still present on the scene?
Not that I was aware of.
You indicated that a shell casing was not recovered, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was there ever a bullet recovered?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you, was any DNA swabs, were any DNA swabs done in this case?
Yes.
What was swabbed?
The hand grip of the firearm. The hands of the victim. The buccal swab of Mr. Robinson. And that's the extent.
Was a buccal swab taken of Damari?
One is not.
Did you request a search warrant for a buccal swab of Damari?
Yes.
And you decided not to take the DNA swab, or so? You decided not to get the buccal swab from Damari, or is that still in process?
It just isn't executed.
Did you test anything for gunpowder risk?
No.
Did you test any person for gunpowder risk?
No.
And you indicated that other people were interviewed for this case, is that right?
Correct.
Were you involved in those interviews?
I was present for one and interview.
Okay. So for those interviews of Damari, is that correct?
Correct.
And who was the other person who was interviewed?
His older brother.
Do you remember his name?
No.
Do you want to refresh your recollection? Your memory.
Yes.
Do you recall who else was interviewed for this case?
Mark L. Shelton,
And how old was Mark Hall?
the 13, 14.
And the Damari that you referred to, that's Damari Addison, is that right?
Correct.
And do you know how old Damari is?
Somewhere between 6 and 8, exact birthday.
And those were forensic interviews that were completed?
They were.
Okay. And anything from those interviews lead you to do further investigation?
No.
Have you investigated this type of shooting before? I guess when I say this type of shooting, have you investigated a child death shooting before?
Yes.
How many have you investigated?
I don't know the exact number.
Can you make any investment?
No.
Have you investigated a shooting where a single child was alleged to have fired a gun at himself?
Yes.
And how many investigations have you done with that?
I don't have a number.
Do you recall what kind of boot track you observed in that case?
No.
Did you, so you indicated that you conducted an interview with Mr. Robinson, right?
Yes.
During that interview, did you take any written statement from Mr. Robinson outside of the constitutional rights form? When you say I did not, did anybody else involved in that interview take a statement?
I can't recall the search report or not.
Did you, so you indicated that you were not involved in the execution of a search warrant of this home, is that right?
Correct.
Did you ever visit this home again after that initial visit?
No.
So you indicated that a casing was not found in this case, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know which officers looked for the casing? Is that something that you would normally put in your report?
Which officers look for the police?
Yes.
No.
Have you been in touch with the county jail about ending home?
No.
Maybe not. That's-
I don't have any more questions.
Can you redirect?
Great. Bill, you said you went to the hospital in this case,
Yes.
and that you interviewed Ms. Alexis Graves.
Yes.
Which hospital did you say that you guys went to?
When this one was Sinai Grace.
Was that
It was, I misspoke, yes.
Your training and experience, have you submitted items to Michigan State Police Lab for testing?
Yes.
And have you ever submitted items for gunshot residue testing?
No.
And why not?
That's never submitted to that.
Do you know if Michigan State Police can test for that?
I do not know.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, sir. You can stay. Any other witnesses for-
Yes, Judge. Who would call Sergeant Todd Eby and new officer Kirk Springman or now?
Yes.
Thank you.
So please give your name and spelling. Please raise your right hand, sir. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
We can give you a record.
Thank you. I didn't notice that somebody else under the court, I'm not sure who that is.
Not a witness. Not a witness.
Not a witness, okay. All right. Thank you. Good morning, could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Todd Eby.
And how are you employed?
City of Detroit Police Department.
And in what capacity?
I am a sergeant.
How long have you been employed with the Detroit Police Department?
Just under 29 years.
Are you familiar with the case of whoever started off Armani Robinson?
I am.
And what was your role in this case?
I conducted an interview with the defendant.
And do you see the person that you interviewed in the courtroom today?
Yes,
And could you identify them and by clothing?
sure. Gentleman sitting at the defense counsel table wearing a white dress shirt.
Your Honor, with the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant in this case?
So noted.
Thank you, Judge. Do you recall when you interviewed Mr. Robinson? Date.
Probably 2 weeks ago.
And where were you at when you interviewed Mr. Robinson?
Detroit Police Headquarters.
Were you alone or with a partner?
I was by myself.
Do you recall about how long this interview lasted?
A couple hours.
More than one?
Yes,
More than two?
possible.
Was this recorded in any way?
It was.
And how was it recorded?
Audio and video recording.
Was there also a written statement taken?
There was.
Did you advise Mr. Robinson of his rights?
I did.
And did you use something to assist in advising him of his rights?
I did.
What did you use?
Constitutional rights form.
Did you read it or did you read it out loud or something else? Did he indicate his highest level of education?
He did.
And do you recall what he said?
No, I don't.
When reviewing the advice of rights to protect your recollection?
Yes. Yes.
What did he say his highest level of education was?
He completed his GED.
About how many interviews have you conducted as a police officer?
In 29 years, I would say, well over 100. It would be very conservative number.
Would it be fair to say that you've seen or observed people under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
Yes.
Did Mr. Robinson, in your experience, appear to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
No, he didn't.
Did you offer Mr. Robinson something to drink?
I did.
And did he, where did he say that?
I don't believe he took me up on my offer.
Did you offer him any food?
No, I don't believe I offered.
Did you offer him to go to the bathroom?
I did.
Did Mr. Robinson do anything to acknowledge that he understood his rights?
Yes.
What did he do?
After he read his 5 constitutional rights, he was allowed the opportunity to ask any questions if he was confused about any of the statements. He indicated that he was not confused and he did understand them. And he initialed to the left of each of the 5 constitutional rights.
Sorry.
Yeah. What does it stand to do?
Constitutional rights certificate of notification.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the constitutional rights for that you executed with your interview with Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
And I move the admission of the report 57.
Any objection? You good?
Now, Master Voluntary.
Voluntary, this is for just voluntary.
Judge, it's Sergeant Abby, is that right?
Evie, long Evie.
So you indicated that you conducted this interview with Mr. Robinson, you said 2 weeks ago?
That was longer than that. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
would, reviewing the constitutional, or do you remember the exact date?
I think it was August 20th.
Okay. Do you remember what time of day it was?
Late morning, early afternoon. I don't remember the specific time.
Seeing the constitutional right form, refresh your recollection as to what time.
It would.
Judge Van.
2:30 p.m.
So your memory is refreshed and it occurred at 2:30 p.m. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point, Mr. Robinson had been in custody for almost a day and a half. Is that right? A day and or half a day.
I really don't.
So you weren't aware of how long he'd been in custody at the DPD headquarters when you conducted the interview?
I know he had been arrested the day prior, but in terms of how many hours, I have no idea.
Okay. And you were aware that he had been interviewed by other officers about 12 hours before that, is that right?
No,
You were not aware of
I
that?
was not aware of that.
Were you aware that that he'd been interviewed before that?
I believe I did have that information that there was an interview earlier.
Okay. And you indicated that you offered Mr. Robinson something to drink, is that right?
Yes, I did a suitability test on him where I dug into his background in terms of the last time he ate, how many hours of sleep he had, things of that nature.
Okay, and he indicated that he hadn't had anything to eat since he arrived in.
I do remember that, yes.
He indicated that he was cold, is that right?
No, maybe initially, but I had a space heater in the room that I turned up, so I know that his body temperature wasn't an issue.
But at the beginning, he said that he was cold, and then you turned on the heater, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And he also indicated that he hadn't been sleeping, is that right?
Can you repeat that?
That he indicated that he hadn't been sleeping.
I don't remember I asked him specifically how many hours of sleep he had. And he told me that he was not too tired to participate in the interview.
Did you, so you indicated that you did I'm sorry, what did you refer to it as, a suitability?
Yeah, based on my specialization, which is why I was interviewing him. Part of that interview process involves a suitability test.
And your specialization, that's in polygraph examination, is that right?
That's correct.
And so you were checking to see if he was suitable to take a polygraph, is that right?
That's it.
Oh, and that's where your expertise is. It's not in, how do you say, voluntariness of the statement or any legal background, is that right?
No, I've got training in that, so I'm aware of it.
Right. Well, when you refer to your specialty, you mean polygraph, right?
My specialty is polygraph, correct.
And did you ask him if he was supposed to be taking any medications?
I did ask him.
Okay. And when you were questioning him before the constitutional rights were evaluated or before they were reviewed with him, he was physically in some emotional distress that you could see, is that right?
I would agree with that.
Judge, I don't have any more questions, but I'll object for the record to the commission.
All right, for next time, the state, one commentary, didn't you proceed?
Thank you. And just one more thing, sorry. So before you get into the statement, Judge, I will object to the parts of the statement I believe that are going to try to refer to the tampering charge just under corpus select diagrams. There hasn't been anything made for that. And for the record, I was going to wait to the end of this, but so before his statement can be used against him, they have to like lay the corpus of the crime, right? So they have to bring in some kind of other evidence of the tampering.
The crime has been committed.
Doesn't
The dead body?
Yes. So Judge, I'm talking just about the tampering with evidence charge. That's not to, so any statements related to that. not to the statements
I think the purpose of that time is satisfied. Everybody.
for the tampering charge.
Yes.
Okay, and just for the record, so those arguments I would also make for the, recorded statement that you'll be observing in chambers to judge that the statements made in that one as to the tampering charge. I object to them coming in under the corpus grounds for the tampering charge, but I heard
The
your.
left eye has been satisfied with the evidence of there being a dead body.
And again, though, just for the tampering, just for the record.
No, never seen.
Thank you. And Sergeant Jenkins stated that this interview was written.
I did reduce a portion of the interview to writing, correct?
It'd be fair to say that the written portion is not the entirety of the interview. It wouldn't include all of the details.
That's correct.
May I approach?
You
The interview with Marcus was supposed to be at 8. Can you tell me what it is?
Witness statement form.
And who's it with?
Armani Robinson.
Did you write that statement?
Yes, this is my reading. His signature appears at the bottom.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the written interview? The written portion of the interview that you conducted with Mr. Robinson?
It is.
And how many pages is that?
2.
Your Honor, whether the admission of the supposed to be 8? Or I'm sorry. Yes. 8.
The objection.
Judge, I'll object without record.
Admitted.
Object without record.
Admitted.
Thank you. And you just left that. And is the statement also audio and video recorded?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the video part of the interview that you completed?
It is.
And Your Honor, I move the admission of the exhibit 9, the video.
The objection.
No objection.
Admitted.
Thank you. I also will not be playing this in its entirety. Going back to People's Exhibit 8, what is the format of that written statement?
Question and answer.
And who asked the questions?
I did.
And who gave the answers?
Armani Robinson.
Can you please read that statement in question and answer form, indicating question before question and answer before answer?
Yes. Question. Describe the shooting. Answer. Early in the afternoon, I went to my mother's house in Pontiac to pick up my brothers, in parentheses, Marquel, black male 16, and Damari, black male 8. My mother had asked me to watch my brothers for the night. When I picked them up, I was with Alexis, in parentheses, girlfriend, and our son, in parentheses, Armani, black male 3. After we picked them up, we went to a park in Dearborn, and I let the kids play. I had my gun in my book bag, in parentheses, 6 Sauer 9mm Lucille automatic. I had bought the gun off the street about a month ago. I know there were bullets in the gun, but I don't know if a bullet was in the head. After we left the park, I picked up pizza at Little Caesars, and then we went home, in parentheses. After eating, we all went upstairs to our bedroom and the kids played video games while Alexis and I laid in the bed. At some point, the boys fell asleep after playing video games, and Alexis and I had sex, and then we fell asleep. As I slept, the book bag with the gun was on the floor next to me. I do not have a gun lock, and the gun may have had a round in the head, but I don't remember. I fell asleep about 6 p.m., and I remember being awakened by yelling and screaming. Damari was frantic and stated, that,
And just for the record, I'm gonna object to this part of the statement, Mr. Person. Double hearsay. Or, I guess single hearsay, the statement.
in parentheses, Shantez Moore had shot himself. I raced downstairs and saw Cam lying in the living room floor with a gunshot to his head. Alexis screamed outside for someone to call the police. I saw the book bag and looked inside and saw my gun inside. I panicked and took the book bag containing the gun and put it in my car on the driver's seat. I returned inside and saw the casing and took it outside and put it inside a gap of decaying wood in the neighbor's garage next door. Question: do you know how the shooting occurred? Answer: no, but I suspect Damari may have shot him, but I don't know for sure. Question: how did the book bag and gun get to the main floor? Answer: I don't know. The kids must have taken it while I was sleeping. Question: how did Shantez get to your house? Answer: his grandmother must have dropped him off while I was asleep. Question: who was present when the shooting occurred? Answer: Marquel, Damari, and Shantez. Question: where was Marquel? Answer: he was upstairs when I came down. Question: do you have any knowledge how the shooting occurred? Answer: no. Question: are there any corrections? Answer: yes. Before I moved the casing, I took Cam to my neighbor's car so I could get him to the hospital.
Did Mr. Robinson have an opportunity to review that statement?
He did.
Did he have a chance to make any corrections?
Yes, as evidenced by the last question, I answered questions or corrections.
And did he do anything to acknowledge the accuracy of the statement?
He endorsed the bottom of both pages along with putting a date and a time for this endorsement.
I think
Thank you, Judge. Sergeant Edie, I'm going to ask you some questions. If you don't understand any of my questions, you can ask me to rephrase. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So you indicated on direct exam, this written statement that you read, that's in your handwriting, right?
It is.
So you had a conversation with Mr. Robinson and then wrote that statement and asked him to endorse it. Is that right?
After he had an opportunity to make corrections, yes.
Okay. And you indicated that this was a recorded interview, is that right?
It was.
Did you have any conversations with Mr. Robinson before or after that recording started?
No, I did not.
Okay, so when you went into that interview room was the first time that you had any contact with Mr. Robinson?
That's correct.
And the purpose of going into that interview room, at least what you told Mr. Robinson, was to conduct a polygraph test, is that right?
Correct.
And before you went over the constitutional rights form, you had a conversation with Mr. Robinson, is that right?
I did.
And you told him that he was not a suspect and that this was just a horrible accident, is that right?
Correct.
And you told him, again, that he was gonna do a polygraph, right? Is that right?
I didn't tell him to do a polygraph. It was a voluntary
Right.
option.
But you were in there to do the polygraph and you communicated that with him. And you told him that the two of you were gonna have a conversation to figure out which questions to ask during the polygraph, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that you would use some practice questions before you started the polygraph, is that right?
Correct.
But then you never actually did a polygraph test, did you?
Correct.
And that Mr. Robinson actually asked you to do the polygraph, right?
Yes.
And he wanted to do it even though you decided not to continue forward with the test, is that right? And during your conversation with him, Mr. Robinson indicated that the gun had a magazine, but he was not sure whether or not there was a bullet in the chamber. Is that right?
Right, he was confident there were bullets in the magazine, but he wasn't confident, or he was unsure of whether or not a round was actually chambered.
Okay, and at first he thought for sure there was not a round in the chamber, but eventually he admitted to you that there was a possibility of a Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he also told you that the decedent in this case, his name is Sean Penn, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Robinson indicated to you that they actually call him Cam, right?
Cam.
And he referred to him as Cam throughout the interview, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he indicated that Cam would never play with the gun, that wasn't the kind of way he was, is that right?
I don't recall that. I think the way he referred to him was as actually kind of mischievous.
So there were two boys that you discussed during the interview,
Yes,
is that right?
yes.
One was named Damari also?
Yes.
So, is it possible that Cam was the one that he referred to as, is that right?
Yeah, then, okay.
And during your interview with Mr. Robinson, he told you where the shell casing was, right? You already said that, correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
And you even had a photograph of the yard that he was referring to, right?
Yes.
And he circled on that photograph where the casing was, is that right?
Yes.
And that was an assist officer's finding, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And during your interview, so you indicated that Mr. Robinson told you that the book bag was upstairs with him by the bed, is that right?
When he fell asleep.
When he fell asleep. And he actually indicated a little bit more detail to you about the bag being behind a fan, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And between, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So almost behind the bed, is that correct?
No, I was under the interpretation that it would have been directly to the side of the bed. There was a little gap he described between the wall and the bed where he was sleeping, and I was under the impression it would have been like right next to him. If he would have reached down on the side of the mattress, he would have been able to access the bed. That was my interpretation.
Okay, and the wall was right there, is what he told
The wall, correct. There was, right, a space between the wall and the side of the bed.
And he indicated that that was the last place that he saw the gun before he fell.
Right, he indicated that he placed the book bag when he went upstairs after arriving home. And when he was awakened due to the screaming, he discovered that the bag was not there.
Okay, and he told you that when he discovered the bag in the living room, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the bag was zipped closed,
Yes,
and the gun was inside the bag.
that's correct.
And during that interview, he told you that he had told the officers who came to the house where the gun was, is that right?
Eventually, yes.
During your interview with Mr. Robinson, you were communicating with some officers who were on scene, is that right?
I was not, but I was in communication with somebody that was.
Okay, so there were officers that were on scene actively looking for that shell casing, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know who, which officers those were?
I believe it was Sergeant Reed.
Who was on scene?
I believe so.
Okay, and which officer were you communicating with who was doing the relay of that?
I don't remember if it was Officer Cooper, maybe. I don't recall.
Okay. Would you have taken any notes or put that in a report anywhere?
No. I'm sure I can get that information. I just, I say there.
Did you write a report relating to this interview at all?
I just did the witness statement.
Okay, I don't have any more questions for the
Can you redirect?
So you stated that a polygraph wasn't actually done,
That's correct.
and why it was not?
I had some concerns about his suitability, specifically his emotional state. I didn't feel as though, as part of the polygraph process, it's important that the examinee is in a comfortable state, not emotional. And it was clear that I was concerned about his emotional state having some type of negative impact that would make the results unreliable.
And you also mentioned that you showed Mr. Robinson a photo of the garage where he placed the case in.
Yes.
Yeah,
You may.
many people are just looking at 10. People know where those images.
This is a color photograph of the side of the garage next to the suspect's residence where he indicated that he placed the spent case.
And is that photo a fair and accurate representation of the photo that showed Mr. Robinson that he circled where he placed the case in?
Yes.
And I would forgive me, so what's the other 10?
I don't have any objections.
And
Nothing.
Just a couple follow-up questions. Judge.
based on that.
Yes, Judge. The photograph that you were just shown, that's a photograph just of that shed area, is that right?
The garage, yes.
Okay, and did he actually draw on the photograph that you showed him?
Yes, I actually witnessed. I saw where he drew the circle.
Oh,
In
that.
black ink.
Okay.
It's difficult to see.
Okay. Thank you. And you indicated that you determined that Mr. Robinson is not suitable for a polygraph, is that right? Because of his emotional state?
That's fair.
Can you describe to me what you mean by that and what emotional state did you observe in him?
He was crying at times. He was, that was the main physical feature that I saw, the crying, kind of shaking at times. He was obviously clearly upset about what happened. And his heart rate and blood pressure, in my opinion, clearly would have made the results unreliable.
Did you test his heart rate or blood pressure?
I didn't, but based on my training, just the physical signs that I saw were dangerous.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Any other witnesses for the people?
Okay.
Any witnesses for the defendant?
No, Judge.
People?
Just,
Oh,
I want to.
so let me ask you, based on Officer Levy's testimony, why do I need to look at video?
Judge, I would say, because it shows where he started and then where he eventually ended at.
Isn't all you care about is where he ended?
I didn't hear that. I suppose.
Well, Judge, the statement has been admitted into evidence at this point. The first set of statements I would ask for those to be reviewed.
Why?
Well, I guess if you don't want to, Judge, then.
No, I asked you why, I said I didn't want to.
Well, again, Judge, I mean, because they were already put into evidence, if you don't want to review them, then I would just ask that they be stricken from the record. Were you making your
My
final?
question is, it sounds like the people got out the information that they need, that he had this gun in his book bag. Book bag, the gun in the book bag is unsecured. Kid got a hold of it, shot himself. Basically what it boils down to, why do I need to review 2 hours of video to get what I've already heard?
Judge, I'm not going to make arguments for the people.
So let me ask you the question. You want me to do the video?
Judge, again,
Because you got out what you wanted to get out too. The book bag was zipped up next to him. He fell asleep, didn't know the kids were in the house, that type of thing.
Judge, I think there might be some statements on that video that, for my purposes, would support part of my argument for an intervening clause here that would break the causation for proximate cause in this case. So that's why I would be asking you to review that.
Because the nuts and bolts of it all is that
Because there were other,
was left
right,
unsecured.
there were other people in the house, right? And so part of my argument will be about an intentional misconduct by another person.
Right, in his book bag.
And Judge, again, if you don't want to review them and you feel satisfied, then I would just ask that they be stricken from the record. So if we
Quit
do.
saying I don't want to review something.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
review
okay.
Anything that I have to.
If the
The
people
question is,
decide,
do I have to review?
again, I don't think that's my decision to make, but if they have not been reviewed, then I would ask for them to be stricken.
Basically, from the record, they were rightfully admitted exhibits, for any opportunity to review.
And they are part of the record.
They are part of the record.
Regardless of whether I look at it or not.
But Judge, if I'm filing a motion to quash in circuit court and you haven't actually reviewed part of the evidence that's been admitted, I think that that's an issue.
You know what, forget it. I'll look at it. Did you email it to me yet?
I sent it out.
Judge, can Mr. Roberts go to the restroom real quick? So.
Yes. That's ready for some bad humor.
Sure.
This process scared the crap out of me.
What's that?
This process scared the crap out of me. Bad humor. Good night.
Took me a minute, I'm
Right
sorry.
over your head.
It's been a long.
Okay, we are back on the record on People versus Armani Devon Robinson. Okay, so that's it. You just need to review the video, is that right?
Yes, Judge.
You sent it to me, Ms. Ripley?
I did just send you and also got a link. They are an active report form, so they should be ready to
Okay,
go.
so we need to date to come back. Wednesday looks good for me. Well, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow looks good for me.
But I'll be here at midnight for another exam with Jefferson, so I can write it after.
Okay, let's say 10 o'clock.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
And Judge, can we just briefly address one? I know we have a ruling on this, but Mr. Robinson is on house arrest. We're just asking for some hours to take care of some here.
Good hearing. Go to the Secretary of State for what?
To send my,
Stand up, sir.
send my files, I need to grab some.
It's in your files.
Yeah, I need
What
some,
files?
I got some legal files I'm trying to file,
I understand what you're talking
and I also need to go do my birth certificate, and I need to go to my county clerk office.
about. Can't you order your birth certificate online? You don't have to physically be present.
Yes, Your Honor, but I also need to go to the county clerk's office,
For what?
file these documents that I'm trying to file, preparing for this case.
What document? What are you talking
And I got some legal documents.
The common clerk's office.
And I
And also
also,
in this case?
Your Honor, I also, I'm trying to gather some funds, because I don't have no more funds. House arrest, and I can't pay my tether. I got bills and stuff that I can't.
And just, he was working before this at Walmart, construction, remodeling construction. So he does have, still have that job.
You have that job, that was the last time you worked.
Friday.
Last Friday was the last time? You
No,
worked?
Friday before.
Yeah. What Walmart are you working?
7 miles in Livonia. 7 miles. In Livonia, 7 miles in,
Who's your supervisor?
her name is. I forgot her name.
That's your supervisor, man.
Yes,
You still have a job there?
yes, ma'am.
How do you know?
I talk to her often.
You talk to her
Well,
often,
not,
but you don't
not
know
that
her
I,
name?
not that I talk to her often, but my brother, he still works with her, and she said as soon as I come in and bring my son's obituary, I can get my job back, like I can continue to work, but she knows my situation.
How long have you worked with her?
I've been working with her for about over 2 months.
What do you do?
I remodeled the Walmart.
You remodel
Yes,
Walmart.
yes,
So Walmart hired you to remodel.
yes.
What's their phone number?
I don't know that on hand,
She said, didn't you tell me you talk to these people almost every day?
Oh, he has it in his phone, the phone is out. We can provide that.
Okay, so I have to establish something.
Well, just since we're coming back tomorrow, maybe, we can come with that information tomorrow.
Have some information. I'll continue.
Thank you.
Okay, recalling case 2358575. People of State of Michigan versus Armani DeWine Robbins. Defendant is charged with count 1 homicide, manslaughter, and voluntary. Count 2 child abuse, second degree. Count 3 tampering with evidence. Criminal case punishable by more than 2 years. Appearance for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, PA 3688.
Good morning, Your Honor. Neighborhood Defender Service to Detroit by Natalie Phelps, P83355, appearing on behalf of Mr. Armani Robinson, who's also present in the courtroom. Mr. Robinson, can you please state your name for the record?
All right, this matter was held in part and continued to today's date, giving the court an opportunity to review the video of the defendant's interrogation / interview. At first, I was hesitant about viewing the video. I didn't think that based on the evidence that's presented to the court, that it would yield much more. But in retrospect, I'm glad that I did get an opportunity to review the video, did give the court some context as to what's going on, what may have gone on here. Although it appears as though police didn't necessarily believe the defendant, I, in large part, give a lot of credit to what he said. I do believe much of what he said. That being said, were there any other witnesses or evidence that you wish to present? Okay. Vince,
Not today, Judge.
okay, people,
Your Honor, the people were moved to find over on the charges warrant. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the people would move to find over on the charges with the complaint warrant. You heard from 3 witnesses, Judge, you heard the 911 call, you watched the first interview of the defendant and the second one, and there's also his written statement. The charges here are not based on the manslaughter charges and the child abuse charges are not based on intentional actions. They are based on gross negligence. I think that's a very important part of the charges. An affirmative action is required. And here we have affirmative actions of the defendant storing his loaded handgun in a backpack. It's not locked. He has no lock for it. It's loaded. It's a extended magazine that's loaded. Defendant went to sleep. He may have left the backpack next to him. He knew the children were released upstairs at that point. Not only is the gun fully loaded and unlocked, it's also illegal in the backpack that the children have access to, the area that the children have access to. Your Honor, I think it's important to note that it doesn't matter who pulled the trigger. That's not what's charged. It's not charged to be one. We know that. Charged with placing his handgun in an area that is accessible to the children. And that's exactly what happened. That's where the gross negligence comes in. And I believe it is from there's no causation issue because it is reasonable that for Mr. Robinson keeping his loaded handgun in a backpack where the children have access to, that the children could have obtained the weapon and shot either themselves or playing with the gun and shot another person. So I don't think there's any kind of issue there. I think it's a foreseeable action, leaving, placing a handgun in the area accessible to children, that this would happen. I also think that it is even more foreseeable in that Mr. Robinson knows that his younger brother, Damari, had an incident at school in which he told a young child that he had a gun in his backpack, and that's in his first statement, which Your Honor watched. And I think placing a gun in a backpack just makes it even more likely that this young child put a gun in the backpack and had access to that gun. And as for the tampering charge, Your Honor, we heard evidence of that. Well, not only did Mr. Robinson move the gun and place that in the car, but even more so than the casing. He went back into the house, he took the casing, put it on the side of his neighbor's garage. And there's evidence to that. There's no casing ever found. You know, there's officers looking for the casing, and there's never anything found as to. So I believe that people have satisfied their burden, the probable cause standard for the charges in the warrant.
Schultz?
The defense would object to the binding over of Mr. dismissal on all three charges in this case. First of all, as the manslaughter charges, the government, they have to show probable cause not only that Mr. Robinson's action caused the death of Chantal Moore, not only the actual cause, but also the proximate cause, and they've not done that here. The question of proximate cause is, was the result of the defendant's conduct too remote or unnatural to proceed? You heard that Mr. Robinson went to sleep and had the gun with him when he was upstairs. He, when he fell asleep, the younger boy, Damari, and the teenage boy, Markel, were upstairs together. And the Chantes wasn't even in the home yet. And so in his mind, Damari is supervised by the teenager at that point as well when he goes to sleep. And again, the gun is right there with him. And Judge, there is a, the doctrine of the intervening cause. So an intervening cause that's an intentional act by another person can supersede any and sever any chain between the defendant's act and the injury to the child, so that it severs the proximate cause, basically, Judge. And that's exactly what happened here. The people haven't shown probable cause that the proximate cause element has been met because there was some third acting activity that went on after Mr. Robinson went to sleep. Again, when he went to sleep, the gun was right next to him. The teenager was with the young boy when he went to sleep, and the second young boy, who is the decedent, was not even home yet. And the record is void of any factual indications that it was reasonably foreseeable that this terrible accident happened after he went to sleep. There's no testimony that Chantal ever displayed any interest in guns or anything. There's no testimony that Chantal held a gun in the past or gained access to a gun. There's no testimony that, or any evidence that Markel either had any interest in guns or was a negligent babysitter in any way. There's no testimony that the children ever played violent video games or anything like that that simulated gun use, Judge. So again, the question is whether an intervening cause is reasonably foreseeable, and if not, then the causal link would be severed, and the defendant's conduct can't be regarded as a proximate cause. And Judge, I would argue that is exactly what happened here. And I'm sure you reviewed the ME's report, and when it was read into the record yesterday, something that really stuck out to me is that the wound tract that's noted in the report is from the front to back, from left to right, and slightly downward. So indicating that the gun would have been angled from above at the child, and the wound tract went from the top down towards the bottom of his head. So again, aiming from above. And I think that the more reasonable scenario when a child shoots himself with a gun in a terrible accident like this is the child usually would be holding the gun and shooting off, right? And so I think that the angle of the wound is something that strongly suggests that it's somebody else who pulled the trigger here, in addition to the other things that you've heard about in the interrogation and from the testimony. And Judge, especially the fact that the bag with the gun in it after the shooting was found, the gun was inside the bag and the bag was zipped. And you said yourself, when you watched the interrogation video, that you found Mr. Robinson to be very credible, and that is how he found the gun. And of course, he did admit to panicking and moving the gun inside of the outside. Judge, this was just a terribly tragic situation that was not reasonably foreseeable, and the prosecution can't, as a matter of law, prove that Mr. Robinson was the proximate cause of the death in this case. And Judge, the government also has to show probable cause that Mr. Robinson acted in a grossly negligent manner. Gross negligence means wantonness, disregard for the consequences that may ensue. Wantonness exists when the defendant is aware of the risks but indifferent to the results. It constitutes a higher degree of culpability than recklessness. And to prove gross negligence, the government must show probable cause that Mr. Robinson had knowledge of a situation requiring the exercise of ordinary care and diligence to avoid injury to another, that he could have avoided injuring another by using ordinary care, and that he failed to use ordinary care to prevent injuring another when, to a reasonable person, it must have been apparent that the result was likely to be serious injury. And again, Judge, when Mr. Robinson went to sleep, Damari was with Markel, the teenager, and Shantez wasn't even in the house yet. So I again would argue that this wasn't gross negligence. This was not something that was reasonably foreseeable to Mr. Robinson at the time. They have not met their burden of probable cause establishing that. And Judge, I would say that the same arguments apply to the child abuse second degree charge. They haven't met their burden for the same reasons as the manslaughter arguments that I've already raised. Again, they have to show that Mr. Robinson knowingly or intentionally did an act likely to cause serious physical or mental harm to Shantez Moore, regardless of whether such harm resulted, and that they have not done so. And then, Judge, as to the tampering with evidence charge, I mean, you've heard again that Mr. Robinson admitted that he moved the bag to the car. He alerted the police that it was there when the police were on scene. And again, just the shell casing. In a moment of panic, Mr. Robinson moved the shell casing, and he did let the police know during that second interview where he put the shell casing. He circled it on the picture.
That's still tampering?
Judge, they have to show probable cause that he intentionally and knowingly tampered with evidence, right? And so he did help in that investigation to try to find that shell casing. After he moved it, Judge. But I'm again arguing that they have not had probable cause to any of these counts, Judge, and I would ask them to use.
All right, so one thing I do agree with you with is that this was a very tragic situation. I, in no form or fashion, believe that the defendant intended any of this to happen, but that's not what he's charged with. He's charged with involuntary manslaughter, which is standard against gross negligence. And the defendant agrees with the prosecutor. In fact, he said it in his statement that he gave to the police that he messed up in not having that gun secured. That even at one point said that he should have unloaded the gun. He meant to unload it, but none of those things happened. But for his actions, his son wouldn't be there. Now, I don't believe that he pulled the trigger. I don't even believe that his son pulled the trigger. I think this other kid that was in the house is responsible for the death of Shantez. I'm not sure what the status of that situation is, but I do believe the defendant, when he says when he came downstairs, the gun was in the bag. The bag was zipped. So Shantez Moore could possibly shoot himself in the head and then put the gun in the bag and zip it. That's not the way things go. But by the defendant's own admission, he was grossly negligent in having a loaded, unsecured gun in the house where there are kids in the house. Whether Shantez Moore was in the house, not Shantez Moore, whether his younger brother was in the house at the time or not, he still had other kids that were in the house. So it is a foreseeable consequence, because kids are inquisitive. It's a foreseeable consequence that the kid could gain hold of that gun, harm himself or someone else. Doesn't matter to me where the gun was located at the house. If it was right next to him, not even clear that it was right next to him, not even by his own, but I think that it was in the bag, and that it was in the room with him. I didn't hear anything about it being right next to him. But whether it was in the room or downstairs, and the officers kept trying to insist where the bag was, I believe that leaving the gun unsecured and while he is asleep with children in the house was grossly negligent. And but for those actions, Shantez Moore, we wouldn't be here on this case. So the court, after hearing the testimony of the witnesses that were testified, as well as hearing the people exhibits and the videos, satisfied the people met the verdict of probable cause as relates to the charges contained in complaint one. The court finds those charges were committed in the city of Detroit. The court finds probable cause to believe this defendant committed. Defendant will be bound over to Wayne County Third Circuit Court Criminal Division of Proceedings. His arraignment on the information date and time will be October 4th, 2023 at 9:00 a.m. As to his bond results.
Judge, Mr. Robinson did bring the phone number from a supervisor today. Again, he is on a GPS tether under full house arrest, and this time we're asking for.
After viewing the video, I'm in a much different position as I was yesterday. So I'm inclined to grant his request so that he can go back to work. Even in the interview, he talked about working at Walmart, so it's been very consistent with where he works. So I don't think it's necessary for me to call him, but I appreciate bringing that information. So I need an order to that effect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the restrictions off the tether.
Okay.
Not sure why we have a moment who's supposed to stay there.
I think the only condition is young children.
It's unsupervised.
Right, and so I don't know
You
why.
have other children, sir? Yes. I can't be,
I would say
is that a
not,
conference?
I'm not sure, Judge,
I'm gonna
I
take
would
the
say
tether off altogether.
not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stay out of trouble, all right? Yes, sir. Stay ready to go. Yes, sir.
Judge, you just want me to pull one of these out for that?
Is it a bond reduction?
Yeah.
Or bond increase? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you have to follow it.